Network news is no longer the main source for news. The big three are struggling, making massive budget cuts and firing employees. ABC just announced it'll shut down every single one of their bureaus except the one right here in Washington, D.C. Joining me now live from our New York studios is media critic Danny Schecter for more. Danny, thank you so much for joining me. So first of all, I want to ask you, what's wrong with the mainstream media today? It seems like network news is cutting positions in bureaus left and right. What's happening?
Well, it's sad. I'm a former ABC producer, so it's hard to hear that 25% of the staff is about to be chucked. And of course, we've seen big layoffs at CBS. NBC has done a little better because it has cable properties; the others don't. But this is about advertising revenues, and it's about how much money they're making. In other words, they could still be making money, but if they don't hit the targets that are set for them by their corporate masters, so to speak, they're considered a failure. And so they begin to cut back and cut out the journalists themselves. There's been an erosion of support for network news for a long time, in part because it's perceived as not being very relevant. Also, there are other news sources, particularly the internet, which is the largest 24-hour, 7-day-a-week news source, and that's what people are using it for, convenience and the like. But the problem with it is that often people are going to shorter and shorter news bits. That's why they say we're in an age of media grazing. Or media snacking. People are just looking for little morsels of information about things they already know about. And that sort of defeats the whole goal of the news industry, because partly we're here to tell people stuff that they don't know about. It interests them in what's happening in other parts of the world, interests them in what's happening in finance or other areas that they may not be familiar with. And if they abandon all news programming to be able to just select what they already are interested in and know about, that's not good for our society. You have a situation where the right wing only wants to watch Fox and just wants to be massaged in its beliefs.
So, Danny, I want to ask you then why ABC has cut so many of their staff positions, as you mentioned, but they're also keeping people like Diane Sawyer with her multi-million-dollar salary on. Why are they keeping people with the big salaries on and cutting everyone else? It seems like
they perceive that those people are the ones that bring in the viewers, and everybody else is sort of dispensable, disposable, essentially. They are all replaceable. They're all considered like everyone else. The idea of quality has long ago, been lost as a goal. What we're looking for here is sort of more news in less time. And, they all tend to follow routines of coverage. They tend to follow the same types of methods. If you watch the three networks and flip back and forth, you almost see the same newscast on each one of them, with the stories almost in the same order. And other points of view and other perspectives are missing in the news, unfortunately. If you look at who advertises on the news, you'll find increasingly pharmaceutical companies take the purple pill, take Viagra. It's an aging demographic. Young people are not watching it, and they don't like it. It's interesting that the most popular news show on American television is not a news show. It's a comedy program. It's,
right.
The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
And so, Danny,
you
mentioned
that because of its attitude.
Right. You mentioned here that, the news just isn't relevant anymore to a lot of people. And it seems like in poll after poll, more and more Americans are also saying that they're distrustful of what these news outlets have to say. And over and over again, we hear about how shareholders of big newspapers and investors and big TV stations can have a say in the editorial content. Do you think that that's a big problem, too? People just aren't trusting the news anymore?
Yeah, I think. Well, it is a big problem. It's basically the age of media concentration, where the bottom line becomes the only line, and journalistic values are no longer as important. So we have fewer investigative reports, less global coverage, closing bureaus all around the world, et cetera, and so forth. So the American people know less, even though they have more available in terms of news sources. And this is the irony of all of this. People are basically filling themselves up with junk food and junk news. And as a result, when you ask them what's really happening, how do they understand a given issue, they can't tell you. And that's the problem. You know, what do people look for on the internet? The #1 category is weather. You know, is it going to rain tomorrow or not? You know, and unfortunately, even though there's a tremendous diversity, a lot of choices, including RT, for example, online, people tend to go to brands they already know, brands that are advertising and marketing themselves. The consequence is people are actually being dumbed down, and that's the danger for our democracy.
Well, Danny Schecter, I want to thank you so much for weighing in on the future of mainstream news. And of course, here at RT, we do like to provide another perspective and hopefully be the future of your news.
When you say weighing in, it's not because of my weight, is it? I mean, when you say I've been weighing in,
No,
that's just a joke.
Thank you.
Thank you.